Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Anastasia podcast. For you guys, it's just another week. For me, it's like literally an entire month since I've last recorded. And today almost didn't happen. It's like not working out. It's one of those mornings where everything went wrong, morning/afternoons.
Guess who's back?
My favorite guest, Volky, is also here. He's laying under the table. Such a good boy. But today, like, as much as I didn't want to do a podcast because it kind of like wasn't working out and the timing was wrong and I feel like I didn't write enough prompts and all this stuff, I think all the more I needed to. And like, we divided and conquered. You cleared the entire office. You set everything up. I went and had to shower.
Tell them what really happened.
About what?
I put aside all my goals for you.
Thank you. I had to walk your dog this morning, so I put aside all my goals for you.
Whatever.
So today's topic is going to be self-sabotage because we were just having like a really good husband and wife talk. Matt worked overnight last night, so he was sleeping all morning. I had to wake up, do the baby. Today is Monday, so Magnolia's with grandma. They're at the beach. Dropped Magnolia off there, drove to Almost Providence, got a custom paint color for you because you're very close with finishing painting the camper. We are going on our first big camping trip as a family. Later this week, we have a ton of cousins flying in. There's like going to be almost 30 of us. So naturally, this is where self-sabotage ties in. I'm so stressed out about how much needs to get done, and I'm so overwhelmed that I internally shut down. And my self-sabotage is, instead of doing anything that might help me make getting ready for vacation easier, I am going to make everything harder. I've been like grumpy for a couple days in a row now, and I was hoping that maybe maybe getting some endorphins on that hike might help me, but it's not. I don't know if I'm PMSing.
You got some bug bites instead.
Yeah, so that's a whole thing. So today's topic is going to be self-sabotage. We're going to do this expedited because you have to go to work soon, and it's just
Very soon.
another crazy Monday. And I'm like, you know what? Has to be like imperfectly imperfect. Like, it's just going to be the way that it is, and I'll take what I can get, even if I don't want to. Like, I would prefer this to be much more curated and like not like anxiety driven. And
Life's not perfect. Push through.
well, you know what? I feel like I'm fighting for my life still every single day. So that's why like I hate this, because I don't want this to be something else that's like that, but it is what it is. Let's go into our first subcategory, life updates. What's going on lately?
The baby's crawling.
Noli is crawling. She has everywhere. She has a ton of teeth.
I would say a ton of teeth, but she's got some teeth.
We had friends over the other week or last week, and they were saying, they have two boys. They were saying like one thing they were kind of like always against, and they just were like, okay, we're never going to do this, is let their kids come into their bed. I know co-sleeping is a controversial topic. I did not care about Noli co-sleeping. You were really against it.
Because I'm a deep sleeper.
I think if you do it safely, which I think everybody has the intention of doing it safely, but when Noli co-slept with us, I thought she only co-slept with us for like a couple weeks. I went back and looked at her crib log of like nights she was actually in her crib and wasn't. She slept in our bed for like about a month. She had her basically own bed in our bed. And anytime she'd kind of wake up, it was just easier to reach over, rock her, like pet her belly, give her a banky, whatever. And then we set
Her belly like she's a dog.
kind of like rock her belly.
I was a good girl.
I was wondering though, because one of my other friends, so they have two boys. One of my other friends also has two boys. And she said she never got into like bringing the kids into her bed, and she would walk across her house to the kids' room, like be with them as many times as she needed to rock them to sleep. And like they learned like, you're in your room for the night. And it made me wonder, like, is it a little bit different because Magnolia is a girl?
It's a little different because you're a softie.
Well, she's a baby.
She's a baby, but she could sleep in her own room. You love getting, like, that's like your favorite thing in the middle of the night. If she wakes up and goes, I'm going to bring her in bed.
Okay, yes and no.
You go to sleep expecting that she'll wake up and you get to bring
Oh, God, no. Like, I feel like I reached this point in motherhood, right? Where you just learn what you can control and what you can't, and what you have to be flexible with and whatever. And we had like, especially when she was pre-teething and all the regressions, it would get to a point where we just had to call it. And it's like, I can't get out of bed and like go adjust her for like the 7th time in a row. And what I found was, if I surrendered at like the first or second time that she woke up and brought her in our bed,
she sleep the rest of the night.
The whole night. And it was like, well, why wouldn't I do that? So I think that's where that came from. And even now, like, when our friend was saying that last week, Magnolia had come into our bed 3 or 4 times last week, and it kind of was. I feel like whenever it's a couple days in a row, I start to, in my head or in the back of my head, be like, "Okay, I don't want this to be a habit. I don't want her to develop a habit where she can."
Opening up Pandora's box.
Yes, stir in the middle of the night, and she just thinks she's always gonna come in her bed. But then I remind myself she's only 7 months, and I don't think she's a master manipulator, just a baby. And then she's literally slept in her crib now for, like, the past 5 nights in a row.
Almost 12 hours last night.
Again, and, like, a few days ago. So what I'm thinking is, I think when she has the disruptions to her sleep, she really is going through something. It was right when she had started crawling, like, and she would, like, crawl 1, 2. It's like when she totally understood that she can crawl up on things, like, she is on the move.
Climb. Yeah.
And then I was outside with her one day when you were doing stuff, and I put her up on my legs, like, I was laying on my back on one of the couches, and I was like, "Okay, she's on top of me. I can see into her mouth," because she will, like, just not totally let me go in there, and I saw this tooth breaking through and this tooth breaking through, and she was drooling like crazy, and I'm like, "Yo," and she's getting 2 more teeth, so no wonder she's not sleeping, she's in pain again. That's just a reminder to me, like, she's so small, she needs her mom and her dad, and to not be, I guess, as rigid. This is not giving parenting advice, this is just what is working for us. I think people do what they feel most comfortable with, and I feel like as soon as she's in her bed, that's how quick she's back out of our bed and in her own room.
She's been doing pretty good.
She's been doing great. So the crawling is so cute, and the next stage is baby proofing. You said we have a bunch of tamper-proof, outlets everywhere,
Yeah.
but I feel like I should still stick things in. What we really
You
need
just
to
need to
do
double check and make sure they're all tamper resistant, that's all.
we also really need to do, the stairs, the top of the stairs and the downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, because the dog opened her bedroom door the other day and she crawled right out of her bedroom and towards the stairs. And she has no sense of danger. Like, she looks at the stairs like, I would like to fall down those, please.
Well, what does she do on his place?
She climbs up onto his place, sits there, and then freaks out because she doesn't know how to get down. Or we ate dinner in the truck bed the other night, and all she wanted to do was crawl out of the truck and onto the asphalt below, like it was no big deal.
We had an impromptu family date night, and it was so cute. We ended up having to drive, like, an hour out somewhere, and whenever we have to do a long drive as a family, I love going, and I'm like, "Okay, date night," like, impromptu date. We ended up stopping at Rocco's Pizza in Portsmouth,
Mhm.
and it was good pizza. It was not, like, our favorite, but when we jazzed it up actually the following day, like, sometimes
Leftovers were better.
because we, like, put Parmesan on them, seasonings on them, like, we made garlic butter to, like, dip the garlic knots in. The garlic knots I thought were really great. Um, but you put the truck bed down, and we, like, as a family, the dog, the baby, me, you, ate dinner, and we looked over, like, a beautiful open field, and there was, like you said, way past way, there was water.
Mhm.
That was so much fun, and that was, like, a summer night.
It was literally a summer night.
But
We almost got ice cream after, but the line was too long.
she is really difficult, like, she does not wanna sit still at all, and pray for us.
You started putting her in her tent in the living room because she just if you don't,
Yeah.
immediately crawling out of
Well,
place or running around the house.
so 3 months to, like, 6 months, babies start to become very aware of who mom is and who dad is, and then there's this, like, "I always want to be with you" thing. Now there's the object permanence 6 months onward where they are learning that, like, okay, even if you're just out of sight, you're still there, but then they're confused about it, so they call you back in, and Magnolia, the past few weeks, if I leave the room we have an open floor plan. If I leave her sight, she's just bothered. She is, like, making sound, she's immediately trying to crawl after me, and it's driving me crazy.
Mhm.
Crazy, so I have to, like, contain her because I'm like, "Mommy is right here," and it feels so sweet to be needed, but, oh my god, I have stuff to do.
Yeah. She does the same thing with the dog, and he has had enough.
Yeah, it
All she wants to do is squeeze his ears and poke his eyes out,
she
and
said
he's like, "Bro, get away from me."
she sets sights on him, and she crawls to him on his place, and then she grabs to the side of it, and his, like, paws are hanging off while he sleeps, and she touches it, and he's like, "Don't touch me." And then she lifts herself onto the place, and he's like, "I'm outta here," and he just goes in the other room.
She sees him from across the room, she becomes like a laser-guided missile. She's, "Shh, I'm going for him." Starts going, he looks at her like, "F you, I'm out.
Mhm.
Don't touch me."
Okay, that's life lately with Magnolia, but life lately with getting ready for camping is 2 weeks ago, I was putting Noli down for bed one night, and someone came and knocked on our front door. The dog lost his mind, and I was like, I didn't even know someone was at the door. I thought maybe it was an Amazon driver, and I almost was like, "I'm gonna kill this dog," because I'm literally trying to put Magnolia down, and then I realized there was someone at the front door because I opened the camera, and it's someone who I didn't know, and they parked at the tippy top of our driveway, and they came to our front door, knocked and waited, went back to their truck, were rummaging around in there, and then ca and I'm like, "Is this, like, National Grid or, like, the power, like,
Company.
Rhode Island Energy or something like that?" And I asked you if you knew who it was, and you checked in from work on the cameras, you said you didn't know. After the guy left, I realized it was, like, a stranger, so the dog was doing exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah.
So I'd go to the front door, and I'd get the note that he left on the door, and it was like, "Hi, would you be interested in potentially selling your camper?" And I was like, "Because I have been telling you we're gonna be selling our camper," and you're like, "I hate when you do this.
I
Don't
don't want
wanna
to build a camper.
You're like, "Don't wanna get rid of our stuff," but my thought process with it is, that camper is not gonna work for our family as we're growing it, and we're in such busy seasons with such limited time that I don't foresee us even getting to utilize the camper that much, and it's just sitting there on our property, and I'm like, "Why don't we just finish it up, sell it, not have to worry about the maintenance," because right now I feel like we are drowning in maintenance of things, like keeping up with our house, keeping up with the outdoors, keeping up with projects, keeping up with, like, the gazebo, the patio.
Keeping up with the Kardashians.
There's so much to keep up with. It's exhausting. The transition into, like, summer weather, we had a huge windstorm. The panels got blown off the gazebo. You do the lawn and then you trim. The trimmer breaks. It's like it's literally one thing after another, and it's like, how do we simplify our lives a little bit so we can spend more time as a family instead of always being slaves to having to take care of literally everything? And I feel like you were a little bit warming up to the idea of potentially selling it.
I was warming up to the idea of selling it before anybody ever thought about buying it. But then once somebody offered to buy it, like randomly out of nowhere, that lit a fire under my ass. And I was like, hell no, this is my camper. I love this thing. I want to keep working on it. I was like offended that somebody would come offer to buy it.
This is where my husband's rebel tendencies, speaking of Four Tendencies, come out because, like, I have rebel in me too, and it was interesting because I was like, "No, this is like a God thing." Like, we were kind of talking about it, but we said, "Okay, we know we have a big family camping trip every summer, so if we sold it, it probably wouldn't be until the fall, and then it'll give us time to really get in there, finish up, like, making it beautiful." And then I'm a believer in being a good steward of what you have, so I believe in, like, finishing up, making it beautiful, and
Believer in just having more things. Get as many things as you can.
yes, you
Accumulate.
are. Hoarder, not hoarder.
Yeah.
But I think of it as that, like, frees up or opens up the opportunity for the next thing to come in, and I know how you and I operate. You've always had a dream for an Airstream. You were gonna buy an Airstream, shell, and that was gonna be your paternity project, and we were so close to getting one, and then it just didn't work out, and
Yeah, because my paternity project became staying alive.
fighting for our life. But, like, I just know that the next thing that we do that will allow our family to go camping will be, like, a beautiful adventure and project in itself, so I'm not afraid of not getting something as cool. You think that tow behinds are the Antichrist, and you swear we will never have one unless it's an Airstream.
I love my truck camper. I love the format. I love how small and compact it is. I love that I can go anywhere in four-wheel drive. I don't have to worry about towing something. I don't have to worry about the maintenance of a trailer. I don't have to register a trailer. The trailer's not getting salt all over it every time we go down the road. And once I do that and I decide, yeah, I'm going to get a tow behind camper, like I'm giving up being a cool guy and I'm just becoming a dad. I'm not ready to do that yet.
Okay, do you remember, I think a few days after I called the guy, because I ended up calling the guy the next day or the day after or something after I finished hiking with the dog. You were on a string of a ton of back-to-back days at work, so I didn't even get to tell you that I talked to the guy for a few days. The guy was super nice. He's just like, he said he operates equipment, worked out of Connecticut. He used to chase money, like, and now his family's kind of settling down, and he's driven by a few times and he's seen it and he's like, "Hey, why not just ask?" And I'm something I loved about that is I'm a firm believer is it literally never hurts to ask because you just don't know what doors will open with that. And I was like, "We're actually thinking of selling our camper at the end of the summer." And the guy's like, "Cool, cool." He's like, My wife and my two daughters, like, we're very into, like, what activities do we like to do together as a family? We love to go camping. We love to have fires. We love." So That would just be perfect because he pulled up in what, like a 250 as well?
It was Super Duty. I don't know what.
To me, that was just exciting, and I love how sometimes I feel like you get up to bat and it's just like a perfect thing.
I think I had to fight so hard just to get that, that like giving it up feels like a loss because
Yes.
you were so against it. You were like, hell no, absolutely not, no way. And then I poured like blood, sweat, and tears into it for months, making it my own or our own. And I don't know, I feel like we just haven't gotten the chance to fully enjoy it to its maximum yet. I'm not ready to get rid of it.
And I think that's partly our fault because we never finished it. Life has gotten in the way, doing renovations for other people, getting pregnant, working on our house. So it's like we did the exterior, and you have done so much work in it. You completely rebuilt the floor and the base, and you physically lifted the camper higher so it could sit properly in your truck.
Yeah.
We had to replace legs. You plasti dipped the whole thing. You added black diamond plating on it. You made it super custom. We still want to do topographic mapping on the sides. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And then we're like kind of half done with the inside. It, yeah, about half because like the bathroom's still not
We
done, but you did the kitchen and then
We
you
upgraded the kitchen, we upgraded the countertops, the sink, we put in new, like, plumbing things, I replaced the outdoor shower, I fixed the heater, I added a diesel heater, I replaced the door, I did the entire electrical system, switched it over to a lithium system.
we figured out a design style. It's kind of like, I don't want to say Western because it's not like cowboy Western. It's just like it just I love, like, the vibe of the camper. Like, it's a little rugged, and we're still piecing it together, so I think in that aspect, we don't wanna let it go,
Mm,
and it's funny because when we got in there last week to kinda look at, "Okay, what's left to be done? Like, what do we need to kinda work on to get it ready for this camping trip?" I surprisingly was like, "We're not getting rid of this thing."
yeah, because you love it.
I love it,
You just
and
forget about how much you love it.
we're both like I feel like we're 90% no, we're not getting rid of it. But then we're like, you know what? Never say never because we might go camping as a family for 4 days and might see like where things are just it's like the camper in a truck bed camper size has shortcomings. But I think what I want to hop back to is a few days after I talked to that guy, you and I finally overlapped having free time. And I was telling you, like, oh, I called that guy. Or maybe it was the day after because then you're like, oh, here's what I've been thinking. And you pull up on your phone
What did I pull out?
F-550s with
Flatbed.
an entire permanently built on camping structure that like a project, a full overhaul project
DIY
starts at like $55,000. I got so triggered in that moment. We couldn't even have a constructive conversation because I was like, "Oh my God, this is like your version of your dopamine chase of
Oh, if I gotta get rid of the camper, I gotta get something even cooler.
oh
And
my
it's not
God."
gonna be a tow behind.
And I was like thinking we're getting rid of if we got rid of the camper, it would be to temporarily simplify our lives, to finish working on certain things.
To any of the guys listening, never get rid of your dreams in hopes to get a new one later.
And to all the girls listening who understand that the wife has to pull and reel it in and like have the family's goals and parameters set out and keep reeling the children of the family in, which also includes your husband.
No, ask me about where my snowmobile and my motorcycle are right now. They're in the hands of somebody else.
Is that neither of those were my doing. I want that for you. I don't want you spending $20,000 on a brand new sled and literally in 3 or 4 years you only get to take it out maybe 5 times and it depreciates so much. It's not worth it.
You know,
So I'm not trying to be the Debbie Downer in the family. This is just where like it's almost like I'm the project manager of our house. I want that for you. Now is not the time. How do we move on? How do we cross other things off of our list or take things off of our plate so we can enjoy those things? Another thing I've been noticing about our family, we have too many interests. Okay. This is the
sue me. I like stuff. I
okay.
like doing things.
So do I. And I'm like desperately trying to reel my own shit in and trying to reel your own shit in. And it's
Unreelable.
no, we're literally when we did that hour drive the other night and ended up doing an impromptu date night, we're driving over the Newport Bridge and I'm looking at all these boats. There's fudge tons of boats on the ocean right now. How hard am I filtering myself to not say swears right now? It hurts. And I'm like, wow, can you just imagine some people like grow up on the water?
No, what did you say before that?
What?
You just looked over at me, looked out at the boats and said, "Do you want a boat?"
I swear to you, I don't remember saying that.
You said that, and I said, "Yeah, absolutely, let's get a boat."
I don't remember saying that at all, but if we get a boat, that's obviously way later in life because you wanted to buy one of your coworkers and friends' boats, and I was like, "When the heck?" This is when we were drowning in parenthood. Would we ever have time to work on a boat? Work on a boat, we'd never even get time to take it out. I also lived with a boat outside my childhood window for my entire freaking life. My dad bought this boat, worked on this boat, it never set sail, and like 12 years later, it got sold.
But he had a dream, and he chased it.
Honey, I wanna be better than that.
So me.
Anyways, I'm like, how, like, dreamy would it be that people you, like, do your summer days, and then after dinner, like, the family goes out and they take a boat ride?
Would be dreamy. I could see that dream for us.
Yeah, if we have a lake house one day, or, like, if the coastal house and Costa Cabin is by, like, a body of water like that.
Mm.
Okay, so now I wanna go into today's topic, which is self-sabotage. I was doing, like, really good with figuring out kind of a routine that made my life easier with Magnolia and the dog in the mornings. I have had to like one, something that I've allowed myself to accept recently and be like, you know what? I don't owe anyone an explanation about this because I think the niceties of me sometimes is like you're trying to appease other people. And something I really gave myself permission to just sit with and be like, no, this is my life and it is what it is and it's okay. And I don't have to over explain it to other people or get other people to understand is the nature of your job is so demanding and your schedule is so unpredictable that life operates easier with the other person, the other adult in our family being left in limbo and flexibility. So this even pertains to something I really struggled with was going back to work. And in the beginning, it was just hard to mentally wrap my head around because Magnolia still was on no type, there was no normalcy with her schedule at all. And she was such a bad sleeper, which we didn't even give ourselves permission to actually speak into existence. She would have like one good night in like 3 weeks, and we would hold on to that one good night of like, that's our baseline. We got to get back to it. We got to get back to it.
Yeah, it turns out that was fake.
I think like at the 5 month mark or somewhere around the 6 month mark, we just let ourselves be like, you know what, dude, she's just a horrible sleeper.
Yeah.
Think,
Hopefully the next one will be better.
you know what? Maybe the Lord. People do say the second one is always easier, but I think it's also because you have a different level of confidence as a parent and it's not your first time doing it. I just remember how much of a toss up Magnolia was, thinking like, dear God, I do not know how women go back to work. Like, how do you function and how are you responsible for running projects, getting things done, spreadsheets, whatever, things that are like mathematical? How do you produce at work when I was like brain dead for 6 months? The next thing is like being a stay-at-home mom does not mean that I'm just available to whatever. Something I remember growing up that always stuck out to me is people would always be like, oh, those girls who just like change their entire life around to be available whenever their boyfriend's available. And I would like be like, I don't get it. Like, I literally don't get that because I would always prefer to spend time with my then boyfriend when he's available and our schedules overlap than to like, I think it's because you and I have always had limited time together.
I've never worked a normal schedule since you know me. I've never done Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
So it was always you worked whatever hours and I always worked in the restaurant industry. So if we had a morning that overlapped that we were together, no, I'm not going to go shopping with one of my friends. I'm going to spend time with you and invest in our relationship. And then I'm available to go shopping like if I end up having a day off, but you're on that day or whatever. That translated to in marriage, like that is the same way I operate with our family. And that is, I think, how we keep our marriage strong and our family like gets family experiences together because I don't. Granted, there's obviously exceptions to the rule. Sometimes there's like mandatory meetings or whatever, but we, for the most part, try to create family moments when we have free time together than just, oh, well, it's a Friday night for me or whatever. That translates to people visiting from out of town or people being like, hey, I'm available at these times. I always, always, always prioritize you and our family having an opportunity to be together over things that might not matter as much, especially if you've been working a lot and we haven't had family time. For me, it's a no-brainer. I'm locking it
Had to
down.
reconnect.
Yes, because I'm like disconnected, not from you, but I'm just overwhelmed. Like I'm disconnected from my level of peace, which is what ended up happening this morning and yesterday. I've been consistently hiking the dog and the baby solo because you've been working a ton, but any moment of free time you have is thrown into finishing getting the camper ready because the painting it took an unbelievable amount of prep work, and, like, you're not frolicking, you're doing so much stuff that I can't do, and you're mixing the paints that you're using.
It's a bed liner, it's a two-part, but you're mixing a color, a hardener, and a regular material,
It's very
prepping it,
precise.
taping everything.
It's very precise,
It's
like,
60 minutes once you mix it up.
and I understand that, and I was, like, getting this dopamine high doing the baby and taking care of the dog and flowing in my routine of, like, I was waking up before Magnolia, I was getting my makeup done, I would literally have time to journal or sit down with my kind of, like, notebook for the day and be like, "Alright, what things do I have to get done today?" The baby would wake up, her and I would have time to play, I would give her her bottle, then during her first wake window, baby went in the Osprey, I started hiking in the Osprey by myself, I was so proud of myself, I had, like, a new level of mom confidence about it. The
She was
dog
loving it.
the dog is getting his exercise first thing in the morning. I'm happier because, yes, it's hot. It's super hot. We're in the thick of summer right now, but I'm getting out before high noon, which for like a whole month I was getting stuck hiking them in the middle of the day and I hated it. It was so buggy. It was unbelievably hot. And now like I just accept, okay, I'm going to be downed in sweat, but we're going to come home. We're going to get the baby cooled down. She's going to have some real food. We'll maybe top her off with another bottle and she is ready to go down for her nap. And she goes down for like a 2-hour nap because she's tired.
Even 3.
Then the dog gets fed, he's ready. I put her down in her room. I immediately walk right into the shower. I reset myself. I get dressed for the day, like, and I'm good to go. And I've just accepted when I put on exercise clothes first thing in the morning, like I'm not in my pajamas, like lounging around in a robe. Like I am getting to start the day, like hit the ground running. It was astronomically changing the way that I was feeling throughout the days. I wasn't feeling like a victim to my days. I was feeling like I had a piece, regardless of how the rest of the day went, because you can't control everything. But I was like, yes,
I own
this
more.
is what parenthood is like working and adapting to what your life now looks like. Then somehow last week, it shifted into on the hikes. Like I was just getting straight up pissed off. Like there was no dopamine exchange. I'm coming home, I'm soaking wet in sweat. Magnolia is ripping the SHI out of the back of my hair. I'm getting so frustrated with her because she's playing with the back of my head and she's literally ripping it out. And I'm grabbing her hands back here like I can't see her. And I'm like, Magnolia. So I'm doing that. She's upset. She's crying. I feel bad that I'm like frustrated at her. I am pulling out mounds of my hair from her hands. The poor dog is so hot. He doesn't even want to be outside.
Covered in bugs.
And I'm doing the same hike multiple days in a row. So it's like Groundhog Day over and over. And then I came in one day and I was like, honey, I can't do it just myself. Like I can't do it 7 days a week. And my brain, even though I know you're not putting it on me, I know like I'm kind of signing up for it. And I'm kind of like, hey, I got this. You keep running, running in the way that we always talk about for our family. I like met my breaking point. And I was like, okay, we need to do a family hike. But then we did a family hike yesterday and we got caught in the pouring rain. And turns out I get pissed off with that too.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of nice.
I got like upset because I was trying to like vlog it a little bit. And then my phone says that I'm at capacity, even though we have 6 terabytes of whatever. And I'm just like, I think for me, it's like getting sweaty, getting bit by bugs, the dog getting soaking wet. Our cars are filthy. Going on a different hike with him, the trade-off is your car is disgusting. He's wet, he's dripping, it's dirty. And
Got mud.
Magnolia had a blowout in her car seat. Then you stripped her whole car seat, but you didn't start the load of laundry. I was supposed to go out to the stores last night. I couldn't because I didn't realize her car seat crap never got thrown into the washing machine. Okay, I readjust my whole day. I'm like, I'm not going out. I'll place grocery orders. This is all the self-sabotage. This ties into like yesterday. I'm trying to, okay, if we're leaving at the end of this week and we have this much to do and like all my mornings are not going according to plan because now I'm getting frustrated on these hikes and whatever. What can I do to slowly do a little bit day by day that can set me up for success later? Well, that's not how my brain works. I'm like, let's burn it all down. Let's make it 1,000 times worse. Let's suffer.
Let's bake.
Literally, my go-to for the past like 15 years of my life is when I am so unbelievably stressed out with how much I have to do, I stress bake
Literally.
because I don't have to think about baking. It comes naturally.
Are we leaving for a trip the next day? Or do we have a big project due? Do we have anything that's like super intense? The pressure's on.
Do I have a deadline? Yeah.
If you have a deadline, you crack and you preheat the oven.
Yes. because it's like something that in the back of my brain comes so naturally to me. It's something that makes me feel productive, but it's an illusion. And I'm getting a temporary break from my overwhelm, even though I've tried things like sitting down with a notebook, writing down lists, breaking it down to smaller, doable chunks. My brain physically can't process. I needed to place a Whole Foods order yesterday, a Walmart order, and a BJ's order for like food that we need for camping. And then we have 3 containers of food in the fridge and it's the dog's food. We have nothing to eat in our house. Mentally thinking about that type of shopping is so overwhelming to me, even though it's easy of just, I can do it all here. I don't have to worry about going out with the baby, following a list, whatever. I seized up with stress so much yesterday, so I just baked. I baked soft baked chocolate chip cookies. I baked soft baked lemon cookies that are going to get lemon icing on them and snickerdoodles. And I'm like, no, actually, what the is wrong with me?
And I came home at 7:30 in the morning. You're like, look, I made cookies.
And this is what it was. You were working overnight. I can't self-regulate when I'm that like strung out. This is like so ridiculous because as a mom, I should have the ability to like reel it in, Anastasia, because if you don't figure this out, how the hell are you going to raise kids? Like, how are you going to raise kids to be thriving young individuals that can self-regulate themselves? Like, it's almost like I need you to parent me, like in the ways that when I'm like, no, I have to be the voice of reason. I literally need you to sometimes be like,
Give me your
is what you're,
phone.
or you say to me, like, is what you're doing productive right now? Or is this what you should be really doing at this time? And I
Which
like
doesn't go over very well.
get frustrated with you when you say that to me, but you're always right because it'll be like 11 o'clock and I'm physically like taking flour out of the pantry and sugar. And then I'm like, no, this isn't what I should be doing right now. And then I'll
As
put
you
it
open
away.
it back up again.
And I like didn't have that. Then like people who self-sabotage sounds very, what is the word I'm looking for?
Destructive.
Destructive. I'm like, why am I saying whatever? But truly last night I was thinking when I was like super disappointed in myself that I didn't just like shut it down and like go to bed at 9:30. I'm like, thank God I don't do drugs and excessively drink alcohol. No, because what is happening in that self-sabotage moment, I think is exactly what happens to people who have, like for me, my self-destructive behavior is getting lost doing something I shouldn't be doing, but it's not damaging, like self-damaging, like alcohol abuse or drug abuse. But I think it's actually the same subliminal thing. It's just different outlets. And it
Yours just happens to involve sugar.
and it really made me feel for people who like, okay, so what? My version is a little bit better, like socially accepted than others because I'm not hurting anyone or like, I don't know. It made me realize, it made me have a heart for people like that. And then I know it's also like addiction as well for people like that. But I was like, all right, so at 11 o'clock, I got in bed and then my level of like self-destruction continued because our like voice activated lighting in the house has been down for over a month. And getting into bed, I'm like, oh, this is the perfect time to check in on like what the heck is going on with that company? Like, why is all this stuff still down? I don't know if it was like a cyber hack or whatever. So I spent 30 minutes researching that. Instead of going to bed at 11, I go to bed at 11:30 and I'm like, okay, at this point, I just need to go to bed and reset. What do we do when things don't go according to plan and you just when
We
stuff
double down
kind of
and bake more.
no, when stuff is that hard, I have to just like give myself the opportunity to like exhale. I had like a great talk with you this morning and I was like in borderline tears because it's just I feel broken and I feel like I don't understand why I can't course correct and why I can't fix it or take like the right path. And just it seems as simple as, well, if that's what you do and that's what you don't want to be doing,
Just don't do it.
don't do it or do the opposite. And it doesn't feel possible for me because this is something I've struggled with my entire life. Anytime we travel somewhere for vacation, like flights, I literally pull an all-nighter the night before packing
And I've tried for years to
for
get you to
13 years.
pre-pack, to prep things, to get things ready, do anything I can to like make us have an easier time getting out the door. And every time ends in an argument that day because nothing got done.
Because I have to take it out on you because I'm actually so upset with myself and my inability to, I don't know why. It's always felt like, well, why would I pack now if we're not leaving for 3 days? That's something that I should be doing in 3 days. And then,
Meanwhile,
a
I
little bit.
like watching my mom pack. We had a week-long vacation in summer. She'd be packing 2 months beforehand, prepping things, getting them ready. Like there'd be a whole corner of the room ready to go. Like, this is the main stuff. It's already ready to go.
You know what's interesting? I just talked to your mom a couple days ago, and she said, I just sat down and I started making my list for May and kind of thinking about what I'm going to need to buy and snacks. And I, in my brain, thought, like, dude, May
This
ain't
lady's
a month.
crazy.
No, because right now I'm looking at it from a different lens of like, is this what, like, I don't want to say productive people, but like, because I didn't grow up with this. I don't
Well, yeah,
understand
your whole
it.
family is perpetually late to things.
We are
They're known for it.
chronically late. We all have ADHD. I'm struggling so hard as an adult to rewire my brain's pathways to figure out how to break these cycles because I don't want my children growing up with these limitations because that's like what I feel like it is. So,
You don't want them growing up with my problems either, though.
well, so what did we just say? You have a version of self-sabotage too that we just realized.
I'm addicted to doing projects, even if I don't need to or I shouldn't. I like getting deals on things. I like working on things, making things better, or just like creating new things. But as soon as I'm done with that, I don't want to get rid of it because I feel like I won't get it back. So I just need to get another project and another thing to work on and something else to do.
Something I really value about me and you is the families that we grew up in. We love taking something and leaving it better than how we found it.
Hmm.
So that entails whenever we see something that's a good opportunity. It like, and it happened with the camper, or it happens with just anything that we can beautify a home.
Basically, I just need Facebook Marketplace to disappear and never exist again.
No, because I don't even feel like you're that crazy with it. But I
Yeah,
even
but I do a
feel
lot
like
of
that.
dreaming, just looking at things, thinking about the options that I
You
have.
and I also do this with our places of work, though. I've always been a believer in leave something better than how you found it.
Mhm.
Something that has always bent me sideways and like made me crazy is when people say, that's not my job. And I'm like, how dare you? Like, we all work here. And I know that's like a defense mechanism for people, but I'm like, instead of literally wasting the breath to say it, just just shut your mouth and do it. Because usually the things that people are like, well, that's not my job, if you just do it, it makes you and all of your coworkers' life better. And like, isn't that just what you want? Just like ease in the workplace. And I'm not saying do things that's a completely not your title or whatever, but I'm talking about like someone leaves a fork out and you're like, that's not my job. Or like pick something up, like there's toilet paper or something in the bathroom on the floor. Just freaking pick it up. Just do it. Like we've always been people who go the extra mile in that capacity.
Just make your bed every day.
We definitely are people who do that. But your version of self-sabotage is you don't like to hone yourself in on like, well, this is the project at hand and this is where the focus is lying.
I'm a dabbler. I like to dabble in a lot of things at the same time.
Yes, you're like, well, I know I can work on this single thing, but I know me and I can do this and this together. And I'm like, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And
You
actually,
do.
we'll go further if we just hone in on this. And we've
But then
looked
I
to
think about honing in on one thing, and I'm like, I don't want to do just that one thing. I want to be involved in multiple things because
I
I don't want
think
to get bored.
I think that's our Achilles heel because we've read so many books over the years and we have like a lot of mentors who we've looked up to, and that is our biggest problem. We would have been a lot further either with our business or all different avenues if we gave ourselves permission to just the nature of me and you is we think if we don't say yes to certain things, that means no forever. And we don't have a good self-regulating way of being like, no, that just means no for right now, and I can actually get to it later when I have more time. We're like, yes, we'll do it. Yes, we'll do it. Literally, we film a whole
Call
podcast
me a yes man.
about where Costa Cabin is now. And I think that's the podcast I posted last week of like, we're taking a pause on this. And I literally said to my boss last week, I think I have about a year in me that we can do the salon and Costa Cabin do like collaborations where whatever design work I can help you with in the next year before we have more kids and our family just grows and it's like way out of reach, we're gonna do that. And I am like past clients, I am lit up thinking about projects for them, design projects. I'm like, what the actual is wrong? We just did an entire podcast where I was
Inviting ourselves to work on
yeah, people
projects.
aren't even agreeing to it. And I'm like, no, trust me, this is gonna be great. And I'm like,
And I'm looking at you like, what are you doing?
it's a coping method. There's something weird going on here. Okay, it's 2:04 and you have to shower and leave. So I guess you can leave and I'll just talk about the four tendencies.
All right. Peace out.
Okay, love you. Have a good shift.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's actually probably something we should have done a while ago. And like, I'm gonna stretch my legs out. Oh, you're that's how you know you're in your 30s. My knees get like lockjawed. Um, we should have like broken away and he can go do his stuff and then I'll do this. So today, in an effort to like not be overly hard on myself about yesterday, and that is part of maturing. Like, I don't want the next stage of being disappointed in how I handled something to be like self like criticism and going so hard down on myself, because I don't believe that that's how you get yourself to change your behavior either. I think I'm trying to just observe myself and what is going on and try to figure out what deeper is going on. So, Gretchen Rubin is an author that I love. I have a bunch of her books right here. She is like this kind of nerdy girl who, or woman, who she just like likes to study topics and then she'll write a book on it. And she said that when she wrote this book, The Four Tendencies, she kind of studied people and did a lot of like testing and like control group studies and things like that for a few years and kind of gathered things that she was finding about people. This is how this book was born. She found that people could be grouped into four tendencies. This is not like an Enneagram. This is not like all those Myers-Briggs tests or whatever. She, in this book, said she went to lunch with a friend one day and her friend was eating a salad and she's chowing down on a burger. And her friend was like, I've really been trying to get back into running. And for some reason, like, I can't get myself to stay consistent with it. And her friend said, it's so interesting to me because when I was in college, I never missed practice and I never missed a meet. And I did so well at staying in routine with running and I loved it. And I don't know why I can't get myself to do it now. And Gretchen said she kind of observed that as like, okay, well, there was something interesting that she was able to do it when there was like a group of people that she was kind of honoring a commitment to, and it was part of a bigger thing versus when she was just trying to do it for herself. That's kind of where the book was born. She said she really thought about that for a few years, and it sparked a lot of things that she thought about, inquired about, etc. I read this book a few years ago, and when I first listened to it, I was like, okay, I'm a rebel by nature. So there's four tendencies about people. There's an upholder, there's a questioner, there's an obliger, and there's a rebel. An upholder is someone that meets outer expectations and also meets inner expectations. So actually, that is my husband. They whatever's expected of them externally, like from outside, like so at your job, in your career, etc., they follow through, and then whatever expectations they set for themselves, they also follow through. This is something I've always been so captivated about with Matt because the nature of his job is like so good at it and he sees things in like black and white, and like we always joke that like I always see everything in gray, but I also think it's kind of a thing about women because we're more emotional, so we take a more emotional approach to things and trying to understand why people do the things that they do. But I think in society you need people who are like, regardless of the why, this is wrong, like certain actions are like not permitted socially, and to maintain order and like greater overall well-being, that's why we need upholders. Then there's questioners. Questioners resist outer expectations, but they meet inner expectations. So questioners are people that when something is told to them, they're like, okay, but why? Because they're trying to understand the reasoning behind it. And you might have coworkers like this or no friends like this. So if something is externally told to them to do, they're not necessarily going to do it until they can understand it. But when they have inner expectations for themselves, it's not hard for them to meet them. Obligers are people who meet outer expectations and they resist inner expectations. So they can't honor commitments to themselves, but they can do it when it's expected of them on like an external level. Then rebels are people who resist outer expectations and resist inner expectations. For a very long period of my life, I was a rebel. I had like an authority problem. It stemmed from just my upbringing, like being a first generation American. The way that I was raised was very like culturally how my parents, like all they ever knew. There's like a different lackadaisical approach. Hi, buddy. There's a different approach with how like Western civilization raises their kids versus other countries that are more Like, you don't get to ever entertain any type of emotional well-being or like, you're in survival mode, so it's just different. So, being raised in a household that was like, "You're gonna do what I say or else," as I got older and I got to have a little bit more freedom in my life of like, okay, I can work my own jobs and earn my own money and I'm not dependent on XYZ, a lot of rebellious tendencies started coming out. And it would get to the point where just because someone told me to do something is exactly why I had to not do it, because it would be like "You're not telling me what to do," which was crazy because it would literally be like, I remember when Matt and I were dating, he would, like, be leaving for a big day, and he would say something like, "Oh, do you think maybe you could get to this?" Let's say it's like a project we were working on, and the fact that he said it is why I would not be able to do it. I wouldn't even want to be rebelling against Matt. He wouldn't be asking me to do anything crazy, but it's the wiring of my brain would be like, noted, not doing it. Or it'd be something that I want to do, like, okay, I really have to go through my clothes today because my closet's been out of control and I need to make room for blah, blah, blah. Dude, I would put that stuff off for months and it was my rebel tendencies. Now, as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm thinking I'm a little bit more of an obliger because obligers still resist inner expectations, but I meet outer expectations. When I went into the corporate work world and then even working at the salon that I work at, when I have a deadline for my boss or when I was working for a deadline for our group, yes, I would procrastinate, but I would get it done and I would do such a good job that I'm like, gone were the times of like, I'm not gonna get it done and I don't care. Like, I was getting it done, but I'm like, why? And this actually makes me think about the podcast because I'm like, okay, if I have to release a podcast every Tuesday, what is the commitment to that? It's really only to myself. And every single week, I'm like kind of surprised that Tuesday is the next day. The past 2 weeks, I have physically edited my podcast that is to be released that day, the day of. That is psychotic. And by the grace of God, I've had 2 weeks in a row that Magnolia's like napped for 3 to 4 hours so I could edit an entire podcast in that span. Magnolia has never napped 3 or 4 hours in like her whole 7 months of existence. So I don't know what is going on, but I can't keep living like that. So, anyways, I'm trying to understand what is actually going on in my brain. I don't want to punish myself. I don't want to make myself feel super bad and guilty about why am I the way that I am. I want to understand myself because the entire basis of this book is not figure out what's wrong with you so you can fix it. This book is understand how you are wired and work with your natural like category that you're grouped in, change the way you speak to yourself, approach things, etc., and then utilize that tendency to your advantage so you can thrive. So that was something I was really proud of myself about because I decided today we're not doing a Debbie Downer thing. We're not like, "Oh, you suck, Anastasia. You always do this, Anastasia," etc. I know that your inner dialogue is so important on how you talk to yourself. I don't do self-deprecation blank. Like, even this morning when the day was not going according to plan, like, I overslept, I didn't get up before Magnolia. Matt had to chime in on the Alexa, and he's like, "Honey, she's awake." She was awake for, like, 10 minutes in her crib. I'm like, "Okay," like a zombie. I get up, go get her out of her crib, we change her diaper, and then we're like, "Okay, we're gonna go downstairs and play." Okay, well, what did I not even have a moment to do myself? I didn't even get a chance to go to the bathroom. I didn't even brush my teeth. I didn't get a chance to put in contacts, and now all of a sudden, I'm already somebody's constant. I was supposed to bring Magnolia to Matt's mom's today because I was trying to get to an auto body store first thing in the morning at 8 a.m. to get the paint for Matt because paint was supposed to be delivered earlier. All these things. I'm like, okay, we're not going to go hard on ourselves. We're not going to say because yesterday didn't work. Like I was supposed to place grocery orders last night so I could pick them up while I was already out on the road today. We're not going to beat ourselves up because we already feel pretty low. So I'm like, I'm going to figure out how I can still salvage this day to the best of my ability. I wasn't even going to record this podcast, and Monday is podcast day. Like, Mondays are the days that I have a gift of Magnolia is in the best care, and I can not worry about that, and I can do some work. Thank God for Matt that he set this whole office up and that we impromptu did it. I got ready. I hiked the dog. I was still PO'd. I started listening to this book on my hike, and I will continue to listen to this during the hikes for the rest of the week, and I will slowly try to pack as I go, and I will course correct. I want to understand why I do those things like every single night. I'm trying to rewire my brain to think 9 p.m. is a shutdown time. For the longest time, bartending, waitressing, being in that industry, Matt always working second shift and getting held over, even the year that he worked third shift, or in him getting ordered to third shifts all the time. I consistently went to bed after 1 and 2 a.m. for a good 10 plus years of my life. That you don't just snap out of that once you become a mom. So it's very hard for me to turn my brain off from like, hey, it's go time at 9, 10 o'clock to like, Anastasia, if you would like to have a day tomorrow that I'm personally enjoying, nobody's telling me that's how my days have to go. I am loving waking up before my kid, having a little bit of time for myself, getting myself ready for the day, and then we can just go and cruise. Now that I understand what I need to do to have those types of days, I need to work backwards. And after I put Magnolia down, what I'm trying to do is the first thing I do is walk to the bathroom. I wash off my makeup. I do my skincare. I go get in pajamas. Then I go downstairs and, like, the resetting of the house, I need to, like, set a timer, and whatever gets done in that half an hour is what gets done, and then that's it, no more, because I get lost in the sauce downstairs, and my goal was to reset the downstairs yesterday, and then it turned into, like, well, I'm just gonna throw in 1 batch of cookies because as it's baking anyways, I'm gonna just start washing the dishes. And then, okay, well, after that batch baked, let me just throw in 1 more because I will just keep working on a cycle schedule, and then I was baking lemon cookies, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." We're doing our best, we're course correcting, and we're figuring it out one day at a time. Something that I'm trying to figure out in this season of life is just, even if the changing is slow and steady, how do I get there? Like, how do I when Matt and I were having a conversation, because he was sleeping this morning because he worked overnight, he woke up, I got home from the hike, I'm, like, all peeved off and, like, not at him, but naturally you end up a little bit kinda taking it out on whoever is around, and I'm like, I have been in a good mood for, like, my whole life, and I don't know what it is about that, and I have to figure out how to unpack it and not let that rule my day because that's not who I wanna be, period. That's not how I wanna show up for my family. That's not how I want my kids to remember me, stressed out, like, and that is not the wife or the version of me that my husband deserves. So, thankfully, like, we start unpacking it, and I'm like, I'm literally in kinda tears, not, like, hysterically crying, it's just my eyes are getting watery because I'm like, I know I can figure out how to make changes to, like, be a better mom for my kids, but also be a version of myself that I enjoy, that serves my family better, where my husband gets a better version of me too. And there's things about my life that I can't change, like having to hike my dog every single day, regardless of if it's 90 degrees outside and I'm gonna get soaking wet with sweat and all these things. But there are little tweaks that you can make that just will make your days run smoother. I'm excited to continue listening to this book. I totally recommend it. I love all of Gretchen Rubin's books. The 3 that I've read is Outer Order, Inner Calm, and that is about how women are specifically wired to you need to have peace in your environment to function properly. And the majority of people are wired that way. There's a lot of people that are like, I don't care if there's a mess around me. Okay, I'm not that person. I sometimes can't sit and like work on my podcast or figure out the social media aspect of it, whatever, if I don't know that the downstairs is already clean. It's not how my brain works. It's like I joke and say it's OCD or like a compulsiveness. It is, I need order for my brain to have order. Then she has a book called The Happiness Project where she studied happiness in like what makes people happy for a year and then compiled everything she kind of learned about it in a book. And that what was really interesting about the book was it didn't matter your socioeconomic background, your race, your age range, whatever. It was really, really great. But right now, rereading this, I'm really looking forward to diving into the, I guess, Obliger chapter and Rebel chapter. Something else that I wanted to talk about is a few weeks ago, like I haven't recorded a podcast. This is a little bit of a fear for me for doing it solo because I know I can talk to anyone. I know I can talk long form. When I recorded my birth story, that was an entire podcast of just me talking, but mentally I was following a storyline. And that was a lot easier for me because I had something that I had like a beginning, a middle, and an end that I could talk about versus if I'm going to sit down and freeball talking about something for a whole 30 minutes. I wanna get back into rereading some books that have profoundly changed my life, and I've always wanted to share in them. In my early 20s, when I realized that I could read books, I was kinda told my whole life that I was dumb and I don't read books and I can never sit still long enough to read a book. To my surprise, when Audible became a thing, I was like, "Whoa, I can read books." Like, not only can I read books, I can be driving, I can be doing home chores, occupying my hands and my mind with like something that I'm not paying a ton of attention to, but listening to a book, I like see the words. I understand it so much more than when I am sitting and physically reading a textbook. I've always struggled reading books in school, and I really thought just the way my brain was wired, you know, how there's visual learners and auditory learners and whatever. I always thought I'll just never be a person who can read books. Audible physically changed my life, and then I've literally had an Audible membership for, like, 15 years. Then I realized I love self-development books. I love entrepreneurship books. I'm in a book club, and they read stories a lot. It's very hard for me to do those. I'm not necessarily that kind of reader. I like to, like, get to the punchline. So even, like, with movies, like, I'm not a huge movie watcher. I watch movies that I like, and I just rewatch them if I am watching a movie, like, Hello, 51st Date's my favorite. But I love books that just challenge me in a day-to-day basis. The book, You're a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life, that book and 48 Days to the Work You Love are 2 books that I listened to, I think about when I was 21, and I promise you, they changed the entire trajectory of my entire life, down to what I believed was possible for me in my lifetime, for, like, my husband. It really had me think about how I was raised and things that I believed were possible for me for, like, love, marriage, business, existence, etc. And I have reread You're a Badass at least 2 to 3 times every single year for over a decade. That book, I love re-listening to books like that because during different seasons of your life, you will hear something and it will speak to you and you're like, and it propels you. So my brother actually gave me a really good tip a few years ago about there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes you don't need to constantly bombard yourself with different versions of all the same information. You can just re-listen to books and kind of do the mental exercises again, and it's like kind of like reading a book for the first time, but like in a good reminder space. So that's actually why I knew I needed to reach for this book. I don't need to scour the internet and figure out what's wrong with me or whatever. A month ago when I was recording a solo podcast reviewing this book, I don't think I had enough like information on my laptop or just like notes that I wrote down or things that I wanted to remember or specific points I wanted to bring up. I talked for like half an hour, but it felt very like all over the place. And when you speak, you need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it was just this like regurgitation of so many things about the book that I think I also had like a huge dopamine release earlier in that day. After I finished recording that podcast, I went downstairs and I was talking to Matt and I was like, I'm like super upset and I think like I can't do this podcast. I don't know how I will record whole podcasts at length on my own because for me, I've never been super organized. I've never been good with like, especially in this season of my life when I don't have any freaking alone time and I have a baby that needs me 24/7. How am I going to find time to sit down with my laptop, structure how I will talk in a 30-minute long or longer podcast on my own about certain topics and then not deviate and be scattered and whatever? I had like a full 3 days where I was really in my head about, okay, I guess I'm not doing this podcast. Like, this is stupid. What did I think was going to happen? How am I going to do this? I'm never going to be able to. There was a lot of just self doubt and I don't know, just like helplessness, hopelessness. And Matt was like, you know what? Like, he doesn't love being on the podcast, but he's like, I will do it with you. Like, when you don't have guests, I will be your guest every single time. And that was so sweet and encouraging because that's how much he believes in me that I wasn't even giving myself permission to believe in myself. But I also think just like anything in life, it's going to take some time to practice doing this more and more of just myself on camera. And I will say, this is not just like if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, the behind the scenes of this, like doing all this video work, getting it ready for YouTube, even though my podcast has been live for 2 months and I haven't posted any flippin' reels about it, that is the whole point of doing a video podcast. I'm not saying it's the easy way out. It is a whole different animal when you're doing a video podcast. It would be completely different for me to just have all these talking points and cover them in an audio only podcast and then just drop that every single week. Boy, would my life be a lot easier. But that was never my vision. And that is not where I feel like my gifting lies either. I love the person to person connection. I'm drawn into this. Like, I've always been a very visual person. This tangibleness is what matters to me. And I feel like it goes hand in hand with the message and the topics that I want to talk about. So I'm going to have to give myself permission to little by little figure it out. And one way or another, in the span of a year, because I promised Matt, like that was my commitment to myself and to him and like to our family, I want to give this a good try for a whole year. And if in a year, like, I don't think, because Matt had said something to me like, what happens if in a year you're like so close to just figuring out your groove or whatever, and like what if at a year and a few months is like when you start coasting but you gave up at a year. And I'm like, I think a year is enough time for me to figure out how to balance this with like how to balance this into my life, how to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I for a period of time was like, okay, if doing this on a weekly schedule is going to be too hard, should I just gather information and film like an almost 2 hour long podcast, like an hour and 40 minutes or whatever, once every 2 weeks, but then break it up to a part one and a part two. And that's how I'll release weekly. Because I think if I do a bi-weekly podcast, I'm not going to gain momentum. I myself, it's too much of so much effort to start and then pausing. I get lost in the sauce. Every single week on freaking Friday, dude, I have a moment where I'm like, oh my God, it's Friday. I haven't edited my podcast yet. Like, it's crazy. It comes so fast. It's like I get this release of like, okay, it's Tuesday. I published my podcast. Then on Wednesday, I let myself be like, well, what does the household need? What chores do I need to do this week? What do we have coming up on our family's calendar? Whatever. Thursday, I'm like a victim to my life. Friday, I'm like, holy moly, it's Friday. Then Saturday, I'm like, okay, well, maybe tomorrow I can do something. And then based on whatever rotation of days off it is for my husband, I'm always prioritizing what can we do as a family? Where are we going to go? What experience are we going to have? Are we working on something together, like as a project to move something forward? What's going to make our lives easier, attacking something together? It is just a lot, and I'm doing my best. I think just like everyone else, trying to figure it out. Another thing I need to really do is get off social media, because I swear off social media, and the next thing I know, I'm right there, right back on it. The best thing you can do to be a good steward of anything in life is to do your best. Like, actions always speak louder than words, and do your best to follow through on actions that serve you, your family, and the betterment of those around you. I think that is why my like self-sabotage escapade yesterday, it is just hitting differently at this stage in my life, because I feel a lot more responsibility. I'm a mom, and I don't want to raise my daughter or my future kids of like, one, I don't want them developing stress and frustration to never be able to like get ready for a big event or a big vacation or whatever smoothly. I do think that there's a way to figure out how to make it work. And I don't want it to be like, okay, well, you guys do it this way, but I can't follow my own teachings with starting to get ready a few days early or whatever. So, anyways, that's all I have to say for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow, like, share, subscribe, all of the above. I love you all. I'll see you next week. Bye.